19th for the Westborough Planning Board. We have a fairly short agenda tonight. Two items on it. I think we'll do the continuation of the public hearing on the commercial component of the special permit for Village Commons, as we have had a request from the applicant to continue that matter until our next meeting, which is October 5th. No, October 3rd. So could I have a motion to continue the public hearing on that matter?
I motion to continue the public hearing to modify a commercial component of special permit TOV number 2014-1 for Village Commons at Gleason Street.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? All right, that matter is continued. All right, tonight we have a public hearing for site plan review for an application at 161 Milk Street. I will need to read the public notice on this. This is the first time we've had this. As you'll notice, there are only 3 members of the board here tonight, so we will entertain any comments from the public, plus the presentation from the applicant, and we'll probably continue this to another meeting when we have a full board. All right, so the legal notice. Pursuant to the rules and regulations relative to special permits under section 3.5.1, attachment 1-use regulation table of the zoning bylaws of the town of Westborough and MGL chapter 40A, section 9, and pursuant to the rules and regulations relative to site plan review under section 3.1 of the zoning bylaws of the town of Westborough, the Westborough Planning Board will hold a public hearing on September 19, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. in the Great Hall of the Forbes Municipal Building, 2nd floor, Westborough, Massachusetts, on a plan to refurnish an existing abandoned building, former roller skating rink, into a self-storage warehouse, and to construct a new 20,000 square foot office/warehouse building with redevelopment of the driveway, parking areas, landscape, utilities, lighting, and other site improvements in the highway business zone as described under section 2300 of the zoning bylaws at 161 Milk Street and 220 Turnpike Road, Westborough, Massachusetts, as submitted by 161 Milk Street Nominee Trust and 220 Turnpike Road Nominee Trust. Any person wishing to be heard should appear at the time and place noted above. A copy of the application and plan are available for review in the Westborough Planning Offices at 45 West Main Street, Westborough, Massachusetts, and the Town Clerk's Office at 34 West Main Street, Westborough, Massachusetts, during regular business hours. Jenny, do you have any comments on this before we have the presentation of the applicant?
I do. We did receive comments from other departments. Would those typically be read into the record, or do you want me to just list them?
I think probably just listing them will be sufficient.
Just letting you know which departments made comments? Mm-hmm. Okay. So we did receive comments from the Health Department, Conservation Department, the Select Board, and the Building Commissioner. So as described in the legal notice, the proposed use is for a warehouse facility, which would be a self-storage facility, and then a separate building that would be offices. The proposed use of a warehouse facility requires a special permit under the zoning bylaw, and then due to the size of the project, a full site plan review is required. So that's essentially the relief that they're asking for. The site is located in the Highway Business Zoning District and is located nearby other commercial uses, including a shopping plaza, which contains multiple retail uses. The site is also located adjacent to a residential neighborhood on Milk Street. And as you probably know, previously the site was used as a skating rink, but has been vacant for many years. So I will note that as part of the project, the applicant has agreed to provide an easement to the town for the purpose of the B-Walt Trail System. And currently, the plan indicates that the easement will run east to west along the lot. However, the B-Walt plan from the feasibility study shows that the trail should continue along the eastern property line of 220 Turnpike Road from south to north. So if agreeable, staff has requested that the applicant revise the proposed site plan to show that additional easement. Also, the engineering department has indicated the need for a third-party peer review of this project, along with a peer review of the traffic study, and the total cost was estimated to be $18,000. So the planning board will also need to vote on whether to move forward with the peer review as recommended.
Thank you. I'd also like to note that the planning board did go out and visit the site last week, so that we were able to actually view it and go over, take a look at the plans at the same time, just to fully inform ourselves of what was going on over there. I guess we're ready for the applicant. If you would introduce yourself, please, and then I'll turn it over to you. Barry.
Thank you very much. Barry Yatchison with WDA Design Group. On behalf of our applicant, Mark Johnson, I have with me Carolyn Burke from my office and Kirsten Braun from Chapel Engineering, our traffic engineer. As you've mentioned, I did have one question. I think you may have received comments also for police and fire. I think I got those received over today.
I know we got
Maybe they
fire.
came over today. I apologize. I have not seen them personally.
In front of you, we're asking for a particular project that's located at 161 Milk Street. It's at the intersection with Route 9. It's bound on the western side by Milk Street and existing West Meadow Plaza, as you can see in our site plan. You've got Route 9 traveling east to west on the northern border, and you've got residential condominiums, which is Carlton Gardens, and I don't know the other one on the other side, but they're all pretty significantly far away from our development, bound between wetlands and buffers already. This particular project is primarily concentrating on just one of the lots, 161, which is being highlighted there with the arrow. There is another portion of the property that I believe you guys have seen already in regards to the A&R plan approved last time. It's been approved but not recorded yet until the purchase of the physical purchase of the property can be made and recorded. But we're here in front of you now just to discuss 161 and its proposed project, which consists of rehabilitating an existing old roller rink, a 20,000 square foot facility. That building will be, there it is on the top left-hand corner in a sand color. That will be proposed to turn into individual self-storage units of varying sizes that can be accessed by the proponents once rented and so forth. On the existing portion of the property, what you're looking at there on the right-hand side is a new building that he proposes to put in replacement of existing pavement is another 20,000 square foot building. Its initial plan will be a 10,000 square foot storage area for his business. And then over to the left-hand side, you see us with a dash in the middle right there. That'll become a two-story, 5,000 square foot each story, general offices and general business for his business only, where he'll have offices for staff and some training rooms and so forth necessary for his business. There will be a loading dock in the front so that access and for various equipment and materials that he'll need. The parking, as you see, is generally out there existing now. It'll be rehabilitated. It's pretty well beaten up. Time has gotten the better use of it. This particular property, just a little history to it, was initially developed somewhere in the late 79, 80s, I believe, and was active as a roller rink and a fully paved parking lot. Since then, it has been let to go. Other vehicles have been stored there for various car dealerships up and down the highway. And I'm in the understanding at one time it was also used as a flea market area. So under this intention, there will be selective demolition to remove some trees and various debris, bushes that are way overgrown, starting from the entrance to their property at 161 Milk Street on the lower left-hand side, and around the building of the existing roller rink. There'll be selective clearing to remove dead and other dangerous trees that have grown up over the years to protect the facility and so forth. And then coming around the building on the new portion, there'll be some selective clearing to provide access for the new building, support for the changes in grade from where the new building will sit to what was out there existing. On the right-hand side of the building, there's we plan on an area that we included in our calculations for additional 5,000 square feet of storage facility, future storage as his business grows. The existing driveway as you come in is existing today. It is pretty well dried up and beaten up and will be, as I mentioned, restored. There is that bump out of driveway and parking on the lower right. That will be shortened a little bit from what is existing out there. If you look closely on the drawing, there's another dash line way at the bottom of the page that is near the dark limit. That is where existing pavement is today. We plan to remove a portion of that because it's in the wetland buffer zones. It's roughly about somewhere of 12 to 13,000 square feet of impervious surface that we plan on removing. The driveway, there will be a 30-foot driveway all the way through. Under this particular project, it does, as of today, does continue all the way out to Route 9 as an entrance and exit to both properties. And back to the history of this, both of these properties at one point has come up in front of the planning board and has been proposed as a full build out for the whole property to be paved and stores surrounding the whole thing as a shopping mall. But as you can see, that has not happened. And under this proposal, we are maintaining to the codes and regulations of open space and so forth, requirements that the town wanted. The portion of the property, I believe it's referred to as 220 Turnpike Road. It's not part of this project, but it will be at one point in the future. But the road will be, under this project, will be maintained for a temporary access for constructability and egress for construction vehicles, as we'll get into later on, how we're gonna propose moving around and enter in and exit this site. And with that, I will pass this on to my colleague Kirsten to discuss that. I believe we've got a rendering here if you want to hit that one, Carolyn, the rendering, we can just briefly hit that, what it looks like, number 3. Left. That's a quick rendering of what the new building is trending toward, shall we say. And off to
All right, so for the record, Kirsten Braun, traffic engineer with Chapel Engineering Associates. So first off, I'll talk a little bit about the site access points. Given the nature of Milk Street, I'll call it the Milk Street ramps. That's what it's referred to in the study because it does get a little confusing that Milk Street sort of forks, and so I don't want to call them the same thing, so we'll call the driveway will be on the Milk Street ramps, and similarly opposite Route 9, I'll also consider that the Milk Street ramp. Just so we don't get confused with which part of Milk Street we're talking about. So we do propose 2 site driveways here. There's one on Route 9 and one on the Milk Street ramp. The nature of the roadways at both locations is they operate one way, so the driveways will be restricted to right-in, right-outs only. We did take a look at sight lines just to sort of go over where the driveways are, and specifically Route 9, we're moving that driveway due to the fact that the speeds are high there, and the existing curb cut location now sight lines are severely restricted by the crest in the roadway just west of the site. So we are proposing to relocate that driveway about 75 feet east. And what that does is it helps us meet the minimum site distance requirements based on the actual speed data that we had collected out there on Route 9. So I know anyone that's probably been out there can tell that you can't really see where it's at now. Coming over that hill, you can't see oncoming traffic, and some of which is traveling pretty fast. I think the 85th percentile speed out there is about 58 miles per hour. So I just did want to point out that that driveway is getting relocated to a more safe location. The Milk Street site driveway, the sight lines that exist out there today are adequate to accommodate for safe operation. Both these driveways will have to go through the highway access permit process with Mass DOT. So not only have we looked at the site driveway locations, but Mass DOT will be doing the same thing. They'll be reviewing the design of the driveways as well as their locations to ensure that they're in a safe spot.
Kristen, can I just ask one question?
Yep.
On the access to Route 9, you said you're going to move it about 25 feet?
75 feet,
How many feet?
75.
Is that what is being shown on
Yes,
the map here? So the original driveway is further east?
west.
They're moving it east.
Yes, it's a little blurry there, but
Right.
specifically the egress driveway is what we're looking at. The people exiting need to be able to see oncoming
Right,
traffic
okay.
at such a distance that
Okay.
they can safely get out. So that the egress driveway is specifically moving 75 feet over from where it
Thank you.
was. And we did specifically do sightline profiles, and what that does is it looks vertically at the existing grade of Route 9 and where our driveway is, and to make sure that we have a clear line of sight to meet the minimum requirements that need to be achieved in order to have safe operation out there. And again, they're both Mass DOT owned, so we'll have to go through the whole highway access permit process with the DOT. So they'll be reviewing this information as well. Just a quick, I know this area is a little bit confusing. There's a lot of turn restrictions, a lot of one-way streets. So I thought it would be helpful to sort of put up a graphic to show how people access the site from different directions. And then the next graphic shows how people would exit the site and head back in those same directions. This is exiting the site. You can see going both north and back to the west. You would exit via the Milk Street ramp driveway. You would take that little connector road on the left, and then you would either continue straight up Milk Street, or you would turn right onto the, I guess, northernmost Milk Street ramp to hop onto Route 9 westbound. Traveling south to get back south from the site, you would exit the Route 9 eastbound driveway, and we show Park Street here, but really ultimately depends on the final destination of where somebody's heading south of the site. You could continue on Route 9 and head over towards Lyman Street as well. I think it just depends on where people are going. And then obviously traveling back east, you would get out of the Route 9 driveway and you would travel eastbound on Route 9 east. If you wanted to go back to the inbound, maybe. Inbound's a little bit different. If you're coming from the west, you would use the Route 9 driveway. It's a pretty straight shot. If you're coming from the north, you would have to travel south on Milk Street, take the ramp onto Route 9 eastbound and access via the Route 9 driveway. Coming from the east, you would have to travel on Route 9 westbound, sort of do a loop off onto Milk Street and then back onto Route 9 eastbound and to the Route 9 site driveway. And then coming from the south, it's just a straight shot up Milk Street into the site driveway. I'm not sure if there's any questions on that before I move into the traffic study. Okay. So for the purpose of our traffic study, I know that the project is essentially broken out into two pieces, 161 and 220. For the traffic study, we looked at the whole site entirely. So we not only included the 20,000 square feet of self-storage space, we also included the second building, which is going to have 10,000 square feet of office space, 10,000 square feet of storage space, and then also potential for that additional 5,000 square feet of warehouse space. We did include that in our traffic study as well. We just wanted to make sure that what we showed in our study is what could essentially be out there. So then for the 220 Turnpike Road, we actually did include a third building, which is about 20,000 square feet of additional office space. So we just wanted to make sure that we weren't piecemealing the traffic study. We took into account all the traffic that we could expect at the site. So we did perform a full traffic impact and access study. As part of the traffic study, you analyze existing conditions as well as future conditions, both with and without the development in place. And what that does is it really helps gauge the project's impacts. We did collect traffic counts at 6 critical intersections near the site. I'll quickly try and list them. So it's Milk Street at the Route 9 eastbound and westbound ramps would be 2 intersections. The Milk Street ramps at both Route 9 eastbound and westbound, so that would be 2 more intersections. The Milk Street ramps at the Milk Street turnarounds, both north and south of the site, and then the Milk Street ramp at the site driveway and Route 9 eastbound at the site driveway. We did collect all of our counts back in, I believe, June of 2023. So we collected all of our data. June is actually a seasonally higher than average month, so we didn't need to adjust seasonally. And then Mass DOT actually did submit new requirements, I believe it was last year, that any data collected after March of 2022 doesn't need to be adjusted for COVID unless you're in an area that's predominantly office, which is not this location. So they weren't adjusted for COVID. We did estimate trips to be generated by the site using the total site size that I had mentioned before, both 161 Milk Street and then 220 Turnpike Road. Based on this data, the development as a whole will generate between 86 and 92 trips during peak hours. So that's just 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour in the evening. And again, these include third building potential on site, as well as that additional expansion space on building 2, the office storage space. I do want to note, though, that these estimates are likely conservative, since we do know that MA Restoration will be occupying the site, and we do have an idea about how MA Restoration operates. It's my understanding that a lot of people still work from home, or they go directly from home to project sites, and they're not necessarily your standard office trips, going to and from the office in the morning and then leaving in the evening. So if anything, these trip estimates are probably a bit conservative. So then we project our traffic volumes out to a future year, 7 years from now, so that would be 2030. We include any background developments in the area, and we project out a population growth, which we used at 1% per year. To develop our future conditions, and then on top of that, we layer our traffic on. And what we ultimately found was that the sites will have the traffic associated with the site really will have minimal traffic impacts. The operations in the future without the development, and with the development, there's only minimal increases in delay expected at the study area intersections, and we also don't expect large queue lengths on either of the site driveways. I think the maximum is one vehicle, maybe waiting on either site driveway to get out. That's just a brief summary of the traffic study. I can answer any more specific questions.
I think we'll just continue on the presentation and ask all the questions at the end. Is that all right? Let's do it that way. Barry?
Excellent. Just wanted to touch on the utilities to the site. As I mentioned before, it was going to be developed, so whoever had been in there before has already installed majority of the utilities obviously for the existing roller rink, which already has power to it. But there is sewer, gas to the existing building. We will propose to bring gas a little further into the development and then bring it up for 220 if they need it. Electrical will be brought in a little bit further, and gas, I said, water, and sewer. Sewer currently goes up to the right-hand side of the building, maybe a little bit further. The proponent has done some CCTV inspection of the existing utilities, drainage and gas, and some of the pipes, so to make sure that their conditions are good. We'll provide that to the town engineer and review those accordingly. Our intention is to primarily use a lot of the existing drainage as part of our stormwater design. To incorporate that, we've taken, to meet the new stormwater regulations and so forth per DEP, we will be collecting roof and infiltrating that directly for recharge. Anything else will be collected in the existing drainage system with some minor modifications to allow for sediment removal and so forth prior to being discharged. It's my understanding and through some initial calculations that the existing system that's out there was designed for complete build out of the area, which is, as I mentioned before, the whole property being paved and buildings being installed, and that would be collected and thrown into the stormwater system and discharged across Milk Street into an existing drainage swale that eventually runs out to the river. But our design, we provided a stormwater report. Like I said, we'll do some collection of the roof and provide recharge as required, and cleaning of and detention of the existing stormwater. Also, the applicant has proposed installing a 320-foot long by 50-foot solar canopy along the bottom of the parking area, as well as there'll be some PV charging stations for his business as required. I believe there's 1 or 2 in there proposed. Lighting will be up the driveway and on the building to meet the town's no light off the property requirement. And all poles and stage lighting will be no more than 20 feet high throughout the property and the light poles. Landscape. You want to take that one, Carolyn?
Sure, I'll take that one. Yes, so the removal of trees is minimized for the proposed site plan for the safety. Yes, hello, yes. My name is Carolyn Burke. I'm with WDA Design Group, landscape architect. The removal of trees is proposed for the buildings, the safety, and the required infrastructure, and to preserve the wetland buffers. There would be selective removal of dead and dying, diseased and overgrown and invasive vegetation along Milk Street and Turnpike Road to provide the views into the property and improve the sight lines. and vista pruning for the buildings and the pylon sign. The proposed vegetation, or the existing vegetation buffer on the south side of the property does provide dense screening of the neighboring properties and is to be preserved. Types of trees that have been selected are are proposed in the parking area and along the driveway to meet the zoning bylaw for Westborough. And then the ground layer is the standard grass, loam and seed, and conservation mix within the 100-foot setback of the wetland.
I think that's generally a rundown of our proposed project. If you have any questions, be more than welcome to answer them.
Do you have any questions? Oh, Peter, why don't you start?
What are the hours of operation for the site?
The proposed self-storage facility would be 24/7. The restoration business would be standard working hours.
Okay, and then on here it mentions the visual screening around. Is that different than leaving the trees? Or are you actually putting a screening around the location as a buffer?
The visual screening that was mentioned I was referring specifically to the existing buffer that is along the south side of the property. There's existing vegetation.
Okay. And then on here, can you just point out where you're going to have like your snow storage?
Certainly. Yes, certainly. The snow storage, let's go back to, all right, so we have this area here at the front. Snow storage.
Okay, yep.
Snow storage on the west side of the parking lot. Snow storage in this zone.
All right, and then you also mentioned the canopy. Where's that canopy located?
The canopy is a solar canopy. It is over the proposed parking area.
Okay.
John? No questions? I had a few, mainly to do with the driveway. My question, as much as anything else, is I know you're only developing half the property, but will the people that are using the developed part of the property be able to go out to Route 9 along the driveway?
Yes.
And so are you planning therefore to redo that driveway so that it's drivable?
Yes.
Okay, so in other words, you're going to renovate or re-asphalt and redo that driveway so that people can use it coming in or out as a regular driveway?
Yes.
Now, what about, yeah, go ahead.
And there will be, under this particular, there will be lighting in that corner, the lower corner. And we can install some signage to direct people that come in on Route 9 to go straight ahead to the corner if they need to access any of the buildings from that direction.
Now, on the driveway itself, though, are you going to plan to put any lighting poles?
Not under this project, but we will as it extends. And I don't think the future of 220 is too far behind us. So.
Okay, so in other words, there'll be no lighting on the driveway itself coming into the project from Route 9?
No, not under this, but it will be continued when we develop 220.
Yeah, all right, I'm a little concerned just because it's pretty dark back there. And
Yes.
I'm just wondering, want to make sure that, for example, if people are working late or people coming into self-storage, whether they, are protected by light and able to see well enough. So that's one question I had on that. I think that, quite frankly, is all the questions I had at the moment. I mean, I think I'm waiting at the moment for more information on traffic, which I'm a little concerned about, particularly getting back onto Route 9 if you're trying to go west. We need to think, or you need to think a lot about signage, which is going to make it easy. I mean, I went out of the site last week and was unable to figure out how to get back myself. So therefore, I think there needs to be good signage to be able to help people out on that aspect
Understandable.
of that. All right, if there are no more questions, go ahead.
I do have some questions.
Sure.
Going off of Hazel's question about the signage, we talked about potential signage on that cut through. Has there been any more discussion about that and plans for that kind of directional signage off the site?
We could put signage for the business Route 9 exit this way and give them direction out, and then coming on, there's signage straight ahead to 161 Milk Street or self-storage. We could certainly add.
Yeah, I was
stuff
talking
of that
to,
sort.
so if we're calling that Route 9, or not Route 9, Milk Street ramp, right? That cut through that connects to the other part of Milk Street.
Yes.
Is there going to be any signage in that area so that people exiting the site, turning right towards Route 9, but don't want to go on Route 9, know that they can get to Milk Street by taking that left?
But if you take that left, there's a sign that says no left turn onto Milk
You'd have to
Street.
take a right to get onto Milk Street.
Right.
It's basically people who might want to go north on Milk Street.
I'm sure
right?
we'll have to improve some of that.
Yeah, I
signage
think
through there.
wayfinding signage would certainly be helpful, particularly for the self-storage facility where people might not know exactly how to get where they're going once they get there. I think that would be most helpful. I mean, I think that the business, as far as the office, I think you do it once and then you kind of know where you're going kind of thing. But certainly for the self-storage, I could see wayfinding signage being very helpful to help people get back to where they're going once they get there.
Yeah, no, that's something I think really needs to be looked at thoroughly and take care of that aspect. Normally, we ask for any department comments, but I
couple more
don't see
questions,
any.
Hazel.
Oh, sure, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. Have you prepared an exhibit, or can you prepare an exhibit showing the pavement that exists and the pavement that is proposed and how much is going to be removed and where it's going to be removed?
Certainly.
Okay. Do you have something like that? It doesn't have to be just that. Like, do you have that indicated
Yes.
on the plan somewhere?
Yes, I think we do.
So the existing conditions plan, which is shown on the screen now, the existing pavement is this dashed line, okay? All right, let's see if I can do a color. So the existing pavement, let's see, I'm trying to draw them out. The existing pavement is a very significant area, consists of 214 parking spaces plus the driveway. It is degraded asphalt. So essentially, we are repaving with your basic asphalt pavement. And we're using the existing outline of the pavement parking area for the proposed building and for the proposed parking and driveway. We are removing an area of pavement along the south side, which will become pervious area.
And is that the only part of the pavement you're removing? Or are you removing existing pavement on the site that's not going to be building, not going to be proposed parking?
Slivers here and there, adding a little bit
I
there,
guess
here
how
and
many
there,
how
but
many square feet are you going to be removing of pavement?
it's,
Currently, the site 161 is about 63% impermeable. Okay, so we're going from 63 down to what is required now, 40%.
Okay, so that's significant. Okay. Solar, just want to get on the record. Are you proposing solar? Yes.
a solar canopy. roughly.
And rooftop on the buildings?
Not at the moment.
Not at the moment. Okay. I think we would like to see solar on roofs that can support solar, if possible. And then, is there any proposed rendering for screening so that you can have perspectives from off-site looking into the site to show what that screening is going to look like? Or is the proposed screening as it currently exists? I know you're proposing to cut some trees and some vegetation, but is it going to be essentially what's out there now in terms of visual screening? Or is there going to be more visibility through the screening once things are cut?
It will be essentially what you see now, with the exception of the front entrance, some of those larger pines that are, as you enter into the site and look at the roller rink will probably come down, since they're old, very large pines that aren't really doing much for screening. So we'll, for safety's sake, some of them need to come down. Some are dead. We'll clean that up and put some additional shrubbery in to screen. As far as the southern edge, since we're removing pavement and in that southern edge and border, and the proposal now is from that southern edge of the existing parking south is the B wall. So we've got a 25-foot limit that we can't do there. Then you're into the existing shrubbery that we will trim back, but we're not planning to put any additional screening. It's
But you're
really
going to
not
leave
necessary.
that screening as is?
Leave
just
it
with
as
a little
is.
trimming?
And the same thing would happen on the right-hand side, going up through 221, 220.
The dark green shown on this rendering is existing vegetation. So it is a dense vegetation.
And that's going to remain? Got it. Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Normally, we ask for questions from departments. I don't see any departments here at the moment. I know we have some written ones. If anybody wishes to look at them, they'll be available at the town and our office. And I will open this hearing to public comment. I would only ask that people keep their remarks to 5 minutes or less. Any questions that you wish to ask would go through me to the applicant. So is there anybody in the audience who would like to have any comments on this? And if they would then come up to the mic, introduce themselves, and then ask the question. Yes, sir.
Hi, Terry Barton, 12 Park Street. Can you bring up the map that shows Park Street and the houses? Yeah, that one. So right where your arrow just was on the wetland area, that area floods. It has a bad drainage problem. Every time we get a heavy rain, that wetlands backs right up to my basement. We have pictures of me canoeing in my backyard right up to my foundation. That wetlands can't handle, it already is a problem. I've been meaning to go to the Conservation Commission about it. That can't handle another gallon of water, runoff water, from the parking lots or the roads, or is there any drains from this project that are going to drain that way into that wetlands?
No.
No, none.
No additional planning to head that direction. There is existing drainage along the existing roadway that will collect, and then once we finish restoration of that road, the drainage will be geared toward them better than they are today, and that is directed to the west and won't be discharging into the your wetland there.
That sounds good. If that's That's the way it happens. Thank you.
If you have any questions, you obviously can always talk to the Conservation Department. I know they've reviewed the plans, and I think they had very minor comments on this, is my memory, Jenny. I think they were fairly minor. But if you have concerns, always feel free to contact the Conservation Department.
I've been meaning to do that, and I'm going to do that. I'll get to it right away.
Okay.
But we should probably add a look-back period to make sure that he doesn't, like a year look-back, just on the flooding aspect, to make sure he is not canoeing in his house. Yeah.
That may be tough because you don't know where the water's coming from. And rainfall is getting worse year after year. And so it may be tough to prove that it's coming from that site versus another site.
And I think with the new drainage, that, from what I could see, it probably is not going to affect this particular wetland. And I think the conservation people did look at this just for their concern.
So this,
Generally.
this will be required to go through the NOI process with the Conservation Commission. So you could also attend that hearing and relay your comments as well. When is that? I don't have the date, but you will receive notice as an abutter.
Are there any other comments from the public? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, good evening. My name is Marie Gain. I'm a property owner at 155 Milk Street, the building adjacent to the property. I see several problems that I hope the town will address and will enforce changes to what is being proposed. And I second the issue of water going into the into the condominiums here. We already have water drainage problem from the property. As you can see, the border is right there. The topography, as he indicated, is quite steep, and the water just runs into our property on Carlton Gardens.
Excuse me, if you could just point out on the map, can we figure out exactly where her, which
Do you have
she
one
is?
of those lights? Things, I didn't bring mine.
Right, no, I know where the wetlands is. I wanted to know where her building is. She said she lived next to it.
Can I? Great, thank you. How do you turn it on?
It was on, but
No battery?
there it goes.
Oh, okay. So our okay. Carlton Gardens property, assuming that the property line is correct and we are going to be surveying our property, goes from here to here. So that's the immediate border that we need protection from, big time from the town. The water just runs down, and we have some conservation land here that needs to be protected and studied. This building
So
is
you're talking about the whole Carlton Gardens?
the whole, that property boundary.
Right, but I mean, you're here as a resident of Carlton Gardens?
An owner, yeah, owner.
And the owner, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That line border there, from the presentation, I see a lot of contradiction between having the vegetation preserved, which should be preserved, and perhaps more vegetation should be made, and putting solar panels on the same space. They're incongruent. You don't put trees in front of solar panels facing south. So I think that's an issue that needs to be looked at very carefully. The other issue is that they indicated that the snow bank storage will be here. From the topography, all the snow is going to run downhill to our property, and that should not be permitted. I think proper piping and removing the water away towards the road or into the system, but not into our property, that's a must. This snowbank area is totally inadequate. The small areas that they show where the snow will be stored, it's for the size of the lot and the size of the parking lot. It doesn't add up. So I am urging the board and the Conservation Commission, DPW, and the Department of Engineering to please analyze all this water runoff that would occur if it's not properly reviewed, and it will come to our basements here. We have all these two buildings here have ground floor units. So half of the unit is above, underneath ground, and half of the unit is above ground. And we have serious issues with rainwater right now and water infiltrating from the ground. So I'm appealing to the board to please examine that very, very carefully, and the departments, again, engineering, DPW, Conservation Commission are a must. This road here, again, I think that Conservation needs to look at this border very carefully, because ultimately, all this water going downhill, it impacts our building here. This is 147 Milk Street. 153, 155, 147, 151. This building is very vulnerable from all this water that comes here as well. So this border needs to be piped to remove all the water from the site, as well as this, so it doesn't go into the conservation areas and the vegetation, the wetlands areas. I think the traffic is also a concern of people. Signage, like it was mentioned by some of you, the board members, is critical, so people don't take a left turn. It's already congested, and having that change of grade there, it's this little hill that you have to go over to go to Route 9. It's already problematic. You have some large trucks. If this is a construction company, you're going to have very big trucks delivering materials. You have big turnarounds. That's a nuisance in terms of sound and traffic. All that, it's problematic. We have a lot of traffic ourselves with these 6 buildings in and out of here, and to fight traffic going, apparently you're indicating that it's in more so than out, but there's no way that you can control that being a one-way road. So I hope that all this homework is done, and that in the next presentation they will address those with significant detail and numbers, engineering reports, before we move forward.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the audience who'd like to speak on this matter? Sir, if you could come up, give your name.
Sure. Dave Allman, 151 Milk Street, condo owner. So yeah, I would just sort of, reiterate some of the things that Marie said about water. We had a flood 2 years ago, and I learned a lot about water behind my building. So there's a culvert, basically, that goes under Milk Street, and we found out that it's on state land. We got very lucky during this flood, which was caused by debris getting into the culvert, because the town freed it and cleared the drain. But it's actually not town property, from what we were told. It's state property, that culvert that goes underneath. And it's not covered at all. It's wide open. So I'd have a big concern about debris potentially getting into that area, causing a potential clog in that culvert. So that'd be one concern.
We'll certainly take a look at that, and I know the applicant will.
Yeah, I'm happy to give you information about what happened if you like.
Clarify.
Yeah.
Are you talking about debris from construction or just general debris?
The debris that caused the flood?
I'm saying in the future. You're concerned about the debris.
Just
Is it
debris in
from
general.
construction?
Construction would be a big one. Yeah, the thing that caused it was about this big. So it got in there and stopped, it backed up into the 5 bottom units of 151, so it caused major damage.
All right, thank you. We'll take that into consideration.
One more thing.
Sure.
I'm just wondering, I was a little late, I just came from work, I apologize. I don't know if you talked about traffic study. Is there going to be some kind of traffic study done for this?
Yes, there has been one done by the applicant, and I think we as a board will also be asking for a traffic study.
Okay. And I think I heard 24-hour day operation, is that correct for this?
That's correct for the self-storage part.
So my concern over there would be noise, because like I said, my building's 151, which is one of the closest ones. So I don't know if there's going to be a way to reduce the amount of noise that could be caused by that, but.
I think it's probably the size of the units, and I think perhaps the applicant can address that as the type of things that will be stored there.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else? Yes, ma'am?
Kim Barton, 12 Park Street. My concern is the noise from the construction and people going in there at all hours of night. I think you said there wasn't going to be lighting, so that was one of my concerns. For safety's sake, there should be lighting, but I don't want it to be shining in my backyard.
Well, there are particular rules and regulations about what's called light spillage, which means light that's going off your property onto someone else's property. So I think that is something that definitely gets addressed by the applicant and looked at by the board.
We did have to deal with that when Carlton Gardens did put up new lights, and they had to tilt them a certain way so they wouldn't come into our property. Like somebody said, it is very congested at that fork. Trying to get out of West Meadow Plaza and trying to get over to that side of Milk Street. Also, I'm not too thrilled that they're going to direct them down Park Street. It's a small street, but it's used as a connector to everybody, and they've been going really fast. Also pulling onto Park Street, and I think pulling into your Route 9 entrance and exit is dangerous. They go really fast over that hill near Geraldo's, and you can't slow down enough without somebody on your tail trying to get into Park Street.
No, I think we are concerned about that, and we have had other things that we've discussed that have looked at those same kind of problems. So
That is a
we're
state.
concerned about using Park Street as any sort of a pass-through for vehicles coming from Route 9,
I mean,
or
if
using businesses on Route 9.
there was a merge entrance onto the Route 9 entrance into the self-storage or into Park Street, that would help, but that's a state road, right? And that would have to go through them. That's my concerns.
Thank you for your comments.
I just had a question. What is the proposed security for the 24/7 storage facility?
What will be the security?
Yeah.
Sure, key code, access.
Okay. Will there be an employee work at the unit, or is it just key code?
Just key code.
And how many employees were going to be at the other facility?
At the new facility?
Yeah.
Somewhere between, right now, 6 to 12, and maybe in the future, max 24.
Is there anyone else from the audience who wishes to comment on this project? If not, I think one of the things that we need to deal with tonight is the peer review for traffic and engineering. Is there any comments from the board on that? Do we feel that's necessary?
Yeah.
Could I have a motion then that we request a peer review and authorize our town planner to sign any contract for that review?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, Jenny, we leave that in your hands.
Great, thank you.
I think that's all as far as business goes. I know we have minutes from,
Sorry, Hazel, do we need to continue this hearing?
oh, I'm sorry, yes. Could I have, we will continue the hearing mainly because we don't have a full board for one thing. And now you have a lot of things, Barry, you can look at between now and the next time we see you. Will October 7th, I think is our next meeting.
Third.
October 3rd.
Be sufficient time for you to come back with answers to some of these questions that have been
I believe so,
raised?
yes.
Could I have a motion to continue this hearing until October 3rd?
I motion to continue the public hearing for site plan review application at 161 Milk Street to October 3rd, 2023
At 6:30.
at 6:30 PM.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, we have minutes from,
Thank you, Kirsten.
we did.
Good job.
Oh, we did all that.
That's what we just did.
Okay.
I
No.
think. Yes, whether we should continue the public hearing. And I said I
Yeah,
thought
no,
we did.
I blacked out for this.
We have minutes from September 5th.
I have not reviewed them. We got them today.
Okay, all right, then we'll put those off till next week.
Price quote for it already.
Yeah.
Excuse me, excuse me. Ex-
More business.
Excuse me,
Excuse me.
So if you're
Could
gonna-
you step outside because we're still carrying on our meeting? We'd appreciate that. Where's my gavel when I need it? Thank you. All right. I did attend a meeting last night put on by Westborough Connects, which brought in members from all civic organizations, plus a number of town employees, to kind of talk about what we liked about the town and what changes we were seeing and ways that perhaps we could communicate better among various town departments and people. So it was really talking about communication as much as anything else, communication and civility, and how there is, unfortunately, I think in this town and in many towns, we have more and more people, it seems, that find it necessary to be combative. And town employees are taking a lot of this. It was interesting because I happen to be sitting next to Pat Purcell, and he said the number of incidences with his firemen and his EMTs has grown 3 or 4 times in the last year with people that have been very combative.
With firefighters.
Unpleasant when they've come.
Yeah, what,
Yeah. So that it seems to be an ongoing problem.
Oh, that's
so
ridiculous.
what's the,
Yeah.
what do we think the cause is? Just,
Political climate in the nation?
I think so, and I think just people seem to be, from what I can see, people don't think about other people. I mean, they just become very combative in situations, and I think that there seems to be a whole society, I find at this point, seems to accept this. And I think that's what really it is. It's an acceptance of people acting in uncivil manner.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think one of the things I'm seeing is a move away from viewing Westborough as their community and more as just where their house is. And I think that's what Westborough Connects is trying to switch, but it needs a shift in thinking for a lot of people. And you see that in a lot of communities. People they're going to Boston for work, or they're going outside of town for work. They come home, go to sleep, go back to work. maybe they have kids, maybe those kids play soccer, and that's kind of like it in terms of what they do in the community. And so getting that community aspect back to Westborough, I think, is necessary to reverse these types of issues.
Well, it's issues and also divisions. There seem to be there's so many more divisions within the population here. And I think that, it was good to talk about this because it just seems to be deteriorating at this particular time. And so I think anything that Westborough Connects can do to kind of bring people together to talk about this. And I think just to make people aware of it. And I think your point of people just coming here and sleeping here and leaving, in order to build a community, you need people within the community that are willing to work together.
Right.
Yeah.
And not that this is on the agenda, but I saw the Boston Sports Clubs is now being discussed to be purchased for a community center. I think, on the surface, not knowing a ton about it, but just hearing what the select board said, I think that would be an incredible opportunity to have multi-generational community center with recreational opportunities downtown, near schools, near public transit, near plenty of parking, to actually get a place where the community can gather and do stuff would be really, really important.
I personally agree with you.
Yeah, the town definitely wants that for sure. Yeah.
It was one of the highest things on the list in the master plan.
Right.
was a
You
community
can't ask for a
center.
better location.
No,
And you've got, a swimming pool already there? You've got recreational opportunities already there? And I think that could serve as like
maybe drawing the
base.
community together.
right? You have,
Having a focal point. And the other thing, because it's downtown,
exactly.
which makes a difference. I think one of my concerns originally was the other plan they're talking about is a community center out at Lake Chauncey. Well, that's not really
Get to it.
the place that you're going to draw people together because it's hard to get to, and you
Right.
have to have public transportation, and having a place like the library, which I think was one of the reasons that people were so concerned about the library, was the fact that they wanted it to stay downtown and didn't want to move it someplace else. And there was some movement to talk about doing that. And I think the more we can have community activities and things drawing the community in downtown will enable us to really rebuild this community in a way that people work together.
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity, and
It draws people downtown because there's people that don't even go through downtown. If you live on, close to Route 9, you're never going downtown and you're not taking part in the community. So no, I think it's ideal.
and the other, how often do you get different generations interacting with each other? If you got the senior center all the way up on the hill, they're interacting with themselves, the schools are doing their own thing, and if we could have multi-generational recreational and community opportunities in one building, I think that's going to do a lot that people might not realize. So, yeah.
I think that'd be great. Yeah.
Jenny, I see on the list here a fee reduction request, and perhaps if you have anything else for us.
Okay. So for the fee reduction requests, we have received an application for a special permit for 225 Turnpike Road, which is the retail strip next to where the old movie theater is. And it is for Zoom Room, which is a dog daycare. And previously, they received a special permit from the planning board last year for a different location on Turnpike Road, but they never went through with leasing the space. And so they need to come back for another special permit to allow the use to the planning board. They paid the $2,000 special permit fee last year when they received the approval. And it's essentially the same identical application. It's just a different location and, different size space. So taking that into consideration, they're requesting that perhaps the fee be reduced from the $2,000. And that would be up to the planning board to consider either a reduction or a waiver of the fee, where a lot of the legwork has already been done. So that's something for the board to consider.
Is that something we need to vote on tonight, or is that you're just bringing it up for our attention?
I believe it's advertised for, Kristen, is it October 3rd or October 19th? I think we said October.
17.
So would we
October
vote for a
17th.
reduction at that point, or do we need to vote for it tonight?
I would say tonight to vote for a reduction for that.
I guess my only question is, and I think you may have answered this, is what does the fee pay for, and is the town going to be eating costs if we reduce? Sounds like there's not a ton of work that needs to be done under this fee.
Yes, that's correct. So it's basically someone just moving into the spot, and she had submitted not site plan, but floor plans for the space, because the site is existing. They're not changing any parking. It's a retail area, so they're not adding any parking. There's sufficient parking for it in that retail space. So I think this is an example, honestly, of something we should consider looking at in our fee schedule, because if a small business is moving into an existing empty space, but they need a special permit for the use, $2,000 is a lot for that.
Yeah, I would be open to waiving that fee if it doesn't seem like there's much work that needs to be done. If you guys don't, I think we want that space to be filled.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and what's an extra 2,000 that could help them out?
Yeah, I guess it's just if that fee goes towards staff time, if a staff member's salary is paid from fees and that staff member has to do administrative work to process this application, which would have been paid for by those fees, that would be my concern, but it sounds like that might not be the case.
Well, we would still review it, of course, as a new application and provide, that review. However, a lot of the work has already been done because it's the same zoning district, it's the same use, it's essentially the same floor plan. So nothing is really changing from the previous review that was done. So I would recommend at least a reduction of the fee if, the board doesn't want to see a full waiver of it.
Be in favor of a waiver at this point.
That's fine with me. I would not be in favor of amending the fee schedule to provide for a situation.
Absolutely.
Like, I'd rather have them ask for a waiver.
Individual, it should be done individually, as far as I'm concerned.
Because I think
each time.
these situations are probably few and far between,
Yeah.
so it just,
And they also vary.
right.
Yeah, so it'd be very hard to set a particular fee or fee reduction or even percentage, because every matter is going to be so very different.
Okay.
So that makes sense. Could I have a motion then to waive the fee for,
And just to be clear, it's the application fee, so she still has to pay for the abutter notifications and the
Okay.
legal ads in the
That's-
newspaper,
Okay.
which can
So
be
that's separate,
a
so that.
few
okay.
hundred
Yeah,
at
all
least.
Yep.
pay the application fee for, is it Zoom?
For 225 Turnpike Road for Zoom Room is the name of the business.
Could I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Jenny, do you have anything else for us?
Not that I can remember off the top of my head, honestly. It has been a very busy week in the planning department, lots of meetings with potential developers. So you'll be seeing some coming in October and November. Also taking a look at the proposed community center and the zoning that will be required for that. And then working on the B-wall. We are almost done with the story map, working with CMRPC, so that will be coming out soon, and I'll share it with the planning board at a meeting probably in late October.
Right. Kristen, anything? Could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second? All in
Second.
favor? Thank you, Westborough TV.